Hey, what's up, everybody? Taking a look at XRP here. We are still range bound. We are still bullish because we are above the bull market support band, this guy right here. And you can see we've tested it a couple times now, at least 3 times. So the question is, do we have to come back and test it again? Are we stabilizing here? Because ultimately the direction is breaking above this downward resistance line right here. You can see there's a lot of confluence in this line right here. So you can also see a line right here. So it's a bit of a little nerve-wracking because it is in the shape of a descending triangle, and typically descending triangles break to the downside. So hopefully that's not a descending triangle, right? Another thing that could be bearish is that this is a head and shoulders, right? So you have two things that say, hey, this is probably bearish, right? But you also have multiple other things that say, no, 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 we're bullish, right? One of them being the larger time frames, right? So basically what we've done for the last 7 years is create a ton of structure, similar to what we did back in 2014 through 2017. And this structure helps pretty much build a lot of support in the price so that when we do eventually break out, it becomes sustainable. Notice this box right here, right? This is our range, right? We broke out of the range. Notice that when we crashed, we didn't come back and back test the top of the range. We didn't have to, right? So we've technically been holding for the last 7 years without having to come back down and test these low areas. The reason why, I think, is because it built all of the structure. So now you fast forward, right? So when we break out, when we eventually break out, here's your box, right? Do we have to come all the way back down and back test to $3, right? In the bear market, in the upcoming bear market, right? Or since it created such a large structure, right, we don't have to come back down and retest that area. So the more structure, the better. Because if you look at this, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 points of structure within a range. Now you compare that to something like Theta. You do not have the same amount of structure, right? You have 1, 2, 3. That's it. And maybe not even 3. So XRP actually came up higher, then it came back down, then it went sideways. So you have all this additional structure within the range that supports the long-term sustainability of the price. So that's what you look for. Like, for example, when you look at something like Litecoin or even Monero, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So you have 5 areas, and you also have that same type of accumulation area, right? And you're right at the verge of a breakout. That's why I'm, when I look at Bitcoin, it looks like it's close to the end. But when I look at Monero, it looks like it's just beginning a big move to the upside, right? So, but that's on the face of it in a normal environment, but we're not in a normal environment, right? We have all of the recession talk, the tariffs, right? The fake news trying to blame the tariffs on why we could be entering a recession, when in reality, it's not the tariffs, right? It's the system itself, going back to Joe Biden, it's reckless spending, it's inflation, right? Inflation eats into your purchasing power, right? People don't have a lot of money, so they buy less, and businesses don't make as much, and then that's how you get recession, because it's not the tariffs, it's the actual money, right? It's the US dollar. It's the fiat currency system. That is why we are all in crypto in the first place, because we are opting out of a failed system. Not only is it failed, but it's evil. It's an evil, corrupt, sinister system that is designed to steal your wealth away through boom and bust cycles, as we know the business cycle, right? So we have a wave that goes up and then it comes down. It doesn't have to be that way. Why can't it just be stabilized, right? Or better yet, stabilizing in the upward direction, versus how they do it, where they have a big boom and then they have a big bust, right? They call it the business cycle, and that's how they steal your money. And only they know when the top is in. They know when the bottom is in, because they control the computers and the algorithms that set that price, right? So, and then we also have the stock market too. If the stock market is not gonna make any new highs, then people turn the risk off, and then they flock to gold. Gold goes up, and then people take gold goes up, 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 and eventually it stops. People take their profit, and then they rotate it into whatever, and until unless they're still fearful, right? And there's a lot of fear right now in the markets. That's why we're seeing what we're seeing. And the narrative of that fear is the tariff. But I say that's BS, right? Because remember, Trump, this is his second term. Remember, his first term, he had tariffs, and we didn't see anything like this. So why is it this time we're seeing a big effect in the stock market when he had tariffs before and we had no effect? That's because they didn't have the narrative. They didn't have the talking points, right? They're all given, it's all a script. The fake news, all of these guys, they're given a script, and they all repeat the same thing. And the narrative, the push, is to basically tell the people explain away why we're seeing a dump in the stock market. If we look at, for example, the S&P 500, it's just, look at that. It's just going up and up and up and up and up and up. It's pretty scary, because you're right, you're going up a big cliff, right? So what if you just have a big collapse? You know what I mean? So I think that's even likely that we have a big meltdown, a big collapse, even coming all the way back down to this level down here, right? Which is pretty insane. So, because if this is 1, 2, and that's 3, and that's 4, then maybe we're in the middle of the 5th. And it's really hard to count in the stock market, because it just seems to go on forever. So, but I do think we're going to have a big economic transition out of the old central banking fiat currency type of system, the debt-based system. We're still going to have debt. We're still going to have banks. We're still going to have things like that. But I think it's going to be more manageable, because, when you look at Doge, you see all the waste, fraud, abuse, corruption, lies. All of that is basically theft. They're stealing all our money, right? So you might not notice it, but over time, it really has a big effect. So if we can get all that money back, and then take the gold that we have and back it with a new currency, right? So instead of the Federal Reserve debt note, you have a US dollar, because we don't have a US dollar. There's no such thing as a US dollar, right? We don't have a United States dollar. That doesn't exist. We have a Federal Reserve debt note. Look at the dollar. Take out a $20 bill and look at it. Does it say United States dollar? Hell no. It says Federal Reserve debt note. We don't want that. Okay, that is their system that they created, right? This is not constitutional. The Federal Reserve is unconstitutional, right? Our founding fathers talked about the banks and how vicious they are. And essentially, they don't care about politicians being kings or queens or monarchs or prime ministers or president. They don't care about that. What they care about is being able to control the money supply, right? The money printers, the money masters. By the way, watch the documentary. Go to YouTube and watch The Money Masters. Just type in The Money Masters documentary in YouTube and watch it. It's long. It'll blow your mind away how insane it really is. And this goes back centuries, even going back to the Roman days. I mean, the way they do things. Now it's a totally different system, right? Now we have electronic system. And they don't do this overnight. It takes decades, right? Because the Fed came out in 1913. We didn't go off completely off the gold standard until the 70s. So, but it takes generations and generation, decade after decade, and they slowly change it to where it's completely fiat and it's completely unbacked. There's no backing, right? First of all, the Federal Reserve is not federal. It's not part of the federal government. It's a private bank. And they don't have, and it's the reserve, Federal Reserve, they don't have reserves. They have no reserves. All the reserves they have is a click of the button, the money printer, right? So that power that they have should not belong to them. It should not belong to anyone. It should be completely decentralized, right? It should be through the U.S. or it's probably not going to be completely decentralized. It'll most likely be through the Treasury, right? Why do we need the Federal Reserve when we have the U.S. Treasury, right? So instead of a Federal Reserve debt note, you're going to have a U.S. Treasury dollar or a United States dollar. And that dollar is going to be more valuable than the dollar that we have, because that dollar is going to be backed by gold. It could be backed by resources, or it could be backed by minerals or precious metals, or it could be backed by crypto. It could be backed by, what is the dollar backed up by now? The U.S. military, right? That's all it is. So that is what I'm talking about when I say we're going through a transition. So we don't really notice it, but Trump is kind of playing it along, and he's funneling us down the path, and we have no idea how it's going to look or how it's going to come to be. But we do know Trump is fighting the system, and the system itself, the deep state system, right? They don't want the change because they have their own idea for change. They know that their system is coming to an end, right? You're $37 trillion in debt. Inflation is going to just if you lower the rates, inflation goes way up. If you increase the rates, you have recession. So what do? You can't do anything. You're screwed. So what Trump is saying is, okay, we're going to drill for oil, and that's going to bring the cost of energy. Yeah, but it's not going to fix the problem. And he knows that, right? It's not going to fix the problem. So he's going to do everything he needs to do, basically the inner workings of the economy, not the system itself, right? Because you have the people's economy, right? And then you have the central banks. You have the central banks in which this is being run on, right? So at the end of the day, it really comes down to what's going to happen with crypto, right? Because that's why we're all here. Crypto, right? Does this have a positive effect on crypto? Does it have a negative effect on crypto, right? And my answer to that is, I believe it's going to have an extremely positive effect on crypto, because once people understand it's all about the audit too. Once Doge audits the Federal Reserve, because they're already auditing a lot of the government, right? They already said they're going to audit the gold in Fort Knox. Okay, eventually it's going to come to the Federal Reserve. Once they get that information, they're going to share that with the American people. They're going to be sick to their stomach, because think about all the people who lost their money in 2008, the financial crisis, right? We never got the report on that. We're going to release the JFK files. We're going to declassify the JFK. What about declassify the 2008 financial crisis records, right? Why not? Let's go there. Or let's declassify COVID and the effect it had on the economy. Because this goes all the way back to COVID, right? Because their original plan, right here, this was COVID right here. Their original plan was when Trump was in office, they wanted to crush the global economy and then usher in the CBDC, right? The central bank digital currency. But that didn't work out so well, right? But then once Joe Biden got into office, they didn't really want to transition us during that time because everyone would have felt a lot of pain, and they wanted to win the next election because they knew Trump was a player for the next election. So they had to play it cool that's why Joe Biden did nothing over the last 4 years except really destroy everything. So here we are, and now Trump is president again, and now all of a sudden, right? All of a sudden we see a big crash. Think about it. It's not. Is that just by coincidence? No. These are forces that we cannot see. And that is what makes my job a lot more challenging, right? Because tell me the chart, I'll tell you the news. Or show me the chart, I'll tell you the news. But if the news is if we don't really know how it's all going to play out, or the timing of what it's going to play out, we have to rely on the fundamentals. And the fundamentals are extremely bullish, right? Because this is all, crypto is a new thing. It's been around for a long time, but it's actually pretty brand new. And I think we're only at the beginning of what crypto really is. So when I go back to XRP, let's go here, XRP, and let's look at the market cap. Why not? So, we're right at the all-time high here, right? So we're not at the bottom, we're right at the top. And after you go into reaccumulation and you get back to the top, that's typically when you start testing, making sure that you're holding and you're sustainable. So between here and about there, right? And it really looks good on the monthly here. So if I go to the monthly, you can see right there. You can see how we're consolidating above the all-time highs, right? So as long as we hold, if we can flag out in here for a while, we can flag out in here for the next several months. As long as we hold above this level, we're looking for upside, right? So a lot of people are talking about, recession and things like that, and the stock market coming down, breath closing. How can you have Bitcoin, at $100,000? How could XRP possibly do this if all the other problems are happening, like the stock market, and global liquidity, right? Because liquidity, it's like the current in the ocean. Like you have high tide, you have low tide, and then you get out too far in the ocean, and then the current takes you, and the tide, the current takes you downstream or whatever, and that's kind of like the way money works in the markets, and it's all predicated on fear. and greed. So there's so much fear because the narrative is Trump and tariff. But that is actually helping us, not causing the problem. The problem is what they did, right? By countries ripping us off, by countries charging us to take our product, and we charge nothing to take their product. That is not sustainable, right? So when we're trying to do with the tariffs is make it a level playing field throughout the world, right? Because American products are typically better than products that are made in a third world country, right? And sometimes they're not, right? Sometimes, typically you have, and I'm not saying a third world, but even like China, like you make a computer in China versus making a computer in the United States, it's probably going to be relatively the same. But you make a car in the United States, it's probably going to be a little better. So anyway, I digress. Let's look at the technicals now. So to me, it looks beautiful, right? So not only we're way above these black lines, but we're also above this area here. And by the way, the stock market's been coming down, but crypto or XRP has been holding here, right? So what happens once the stock market gets a little bit of a bounce? You're going to get a big breakout, right? That's what I think is happening here. So, but I want to show you the 8-day chart. The 8-day chart to me is pretty bullish in my opinion, because you have the flippening, right? You came up here, you created this base, right? You broke out of the base, right? And then you're coming down, 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 down. But then we went down so much, we wicked off of it, right? And then we started flipping. So we flipped from red, green, red, green, red, green, right? You flip back and forth, back and forth. To me, that's a bullish signal, right? If you were going up and up and up, and then you flip red, green, red, green, red, green, that means to me it's probably going to come down. Versus coming down, like we're coming down and then we flip red, green, red, green, red, green. It usually means that there's a strong floor, there's a strong support structure beneath, right? So that could really accelerate the price in the not too distant future, because we're coming into this apex here. So we really have, I would say between 1 and 2 weeks we should get a breakout. So between 1 and 2 weeks we should get a breakout. Either that's going to be up or down, right? Now that really depends on Bitcoin as well, and we'll get to Bitcoin soon. But let's take a look at the bigger picture for just a second, right? So, and we'll get to the small time frame. So if this is a triangle, A, B, C, D, E, which I believe it is, that's a fourth wave, right? So you have 1, 2, 3. This is a fourth wave triangle. Now you need wave 5, but we don't have wave 5. All we have is a 1, 2, 3. So this to me is flagging out for a 4, and then we should go up and get 5, right? Because a fifth wave needs 5 waves. So again, you could say this is a 1, and then we have a wave 2 for a triangle, wave 3, and then we have a wave 4 for a triangle, right? So we should expect a wave 5, and wave 5s come in 5 waves. Now you could say, well, we have 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's true, and that's one of the risks that could be a big problem. But I don't think that is a fifth wave. I think that is, I think the wave ended here, and that this is a flat, right? And we'll talk about that. But essentially, we should be looking for a fifth wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then get 5, right? So if we zoom in a little bit, this to me doesn't look like 5 waves. It looks like 3, and I think, like I've been saying, that this is a flat here, right? And then we have a 1, and then we have 3 down, we have 3 up, and then we have 3 back down. So we have a 1, WXY2, and now we have this wave here. So I would imagine that, so let's see if this is complete in here, right? So if this is a 4th wave, right? A 3-wave pullback for a 4th wave, then what is all this? Well, this could be like, again, a 1 and then a 2. There's your 3-wave 2 right there. So this could be the 3rd wave, right? Or if we're gonna, or if we can look at it like this. This is a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. Now we're going sideways, and then we can break out. So one of the fractals shows that this kind of pulls back a little bit. It starts to pump up here, pulls back a little bit more, and then it starts to really take off and go. So that's kind of what I would imagine. This fractal from BCB, it's really, really good. I like it a lot. So I wanted to share it. But essentially, you can see this is ADA, but it's got the similar characteristics to XRP, if I can find it real quick. There we go. So if we kind of look closely, there we go. We got it. So yeah, so ADA didn't take the top like XRP did, but we have for XRP right back in the day, we had that 3-way pullback. Same thing with ADA, and then we sort of had this boom, 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 hit the top. Same thing here, and then we had this like 3-way pullback, and then we had like a 5-way move up. So that's kind of where we are now. So if we get a 5-way move up, and then we kind of pull back, kind of consolidate a little bit, right? And then have a 1, 2, 1, 2, and then go. So if I were to translate that, so essentially, so that would be 5 waves up. So like 1, 2, and then maybe like 3, 4, and then 5. Get back sort of up here to the top, and then maybe come back and back test a little bit, consolidate a little bit more, then have, so this would be 1, and then 3-way pullback, 2, so 1, 2, and then we would have another 1, and then another 2, and then we would set the sequence. This would be our 1, 2 of the 3rd. So this is 1, 2, 1, 2 of the 1st, and then this would be the 1, 2 of the 3rd. So we would pull back, and then we would just explode like that. So that's what it would look like if that fractal was going to continue to play out. Now, I don't know if it's going to play out like that or not, but that's what it would look like if we did. So the biggest thing I'm looking for is a break above the supply line here, because you could see just that alone has a lot of confluence, and then you can stretch it out a little bit. You can see just how well, just how nice we're respecting this line. You know, this was the Trump pump, so we broke it a little bit, but you can see even when we came back and retested as resistance, we came back down. So I want to see, you can see the bull market support band, right? And it's going to make contact with that line somewhere towards the end of March. So if we can kind of coil in here and break out, that's going to be a good sign, right? So, we have the supply, or we have the demand going up, and we have the supply coming down. And when the demand line and the supply line meet, we can get a breakout or a break to the downside. So I think it could be a break to the upside, because now when you go to something like, let's look at VeChain. When you look at something like VeChain or even Theta, it's been coming down quite a lot, right? I mean, we've had like a 1, 2, or even 3, 4, and then 5, right? Or you can say 1, 2, all of that's 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're going to go up for a 4 and then get a 5. But if we go up, right, if you look at the rest of the market, you need some kind of a bounce coming in soon. So let's look at let's see here. Let's look at Theta. Okay, so when we look at Theta, which by the way is up pretty nice today, I think. Yeah, look at Theta's up 7% today. Not too bad. When you look at Theta, we need some kind of bounce, or even the stock market. It's, it's oversold, right? So we've been going down and down and down and down and down and down, basically a long time. So this wave matches up with this wave, and waves of equal length, when you have an A, a B, and a C, that's typically where you would either get a pullback, a fourth wave, or a reversal. So if we can flatten out here and start to come back up, because look how far away we are from the bull market support band. The bull market support band's way up here. So we're vastly oversold. I mean, you can just look at the 3-day chart. We've already went into oversold territory, right? I mean, look at the 2-day chart. The 2-day chart hasn't been this oversold since going back a year and a half or so. So what this means is we need some type of pullback, right? Some type of move that gets us back. You see this level up here? That's my target. That's where I think Theta is going to go, right there. So, do we have to have one more wave down and then kind of go up? I mean, that could possibly be, right? But I would say for the most part, we're pretty much in the area between that 75 cent to $1 area. That should be the bottom, at least for a local bottom. So once we start going back up, because again, look at XRP and then look at Theta, right? So when they both topped here, that's why I think this is a flat. This is a B wave. This is also a B wave that took the top, right? So we did fall a lot, but since we had this flat, we fell from a higher point, right? So if we had like an A and then a B and then a C, we would have broken the range, right? So here's the bottom of the range, and here's essentially that same spot. So look at the difference between the two, right? So if XRP is holding up while the stock market is going down, Bitcoin broke down, the S&P broke down, Theta's been coming down, not just that, but all the other altcoins, XRP is still holding. What happens once those assets start to reverse or start to bounce? Like we start to come back up a little bit, then you're going to get probably a big breakout. Because to me, if XRP was going to break down, it would have already done so. Why would XRP, I'll just draw it here. You have a retrace, and you're basically right up here. and you're about to break out, and you had this little kind of like this little flat here, right? So you're kind of like right there. So you had all of this meltdown. You would have already had the dump, and you didn't. So that's a bullish sign. So anyways, my question is the wave finished? And I think we're really close. Again, I think this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If it, that's one way. Another way is that this is 1, 2. All of that is 3, and then we're about to get a 4, and then a 5, something like that. But I don't think so, because this is only 3 waves. That's why I don't think it's a reversal. You have 1, 2, 3. See, you didn't have 5. You had 3. If you had 5, then you could have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But I think what we have here is 3, 3, and 5. So the primary wave, 1, 2, right? And then we have 3, and then we have 4, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is a 5-wave move. So if this is 3 and that is 3, that's an A, this is a B, and this is a C. Right? So 3 down, 3 up, and then 5 down, right? But if this comes up like this in a 4 and then we get a 5, then this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a move to the downside. But since you had only 3, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. That's why I think the bottom is in. I think the bottom is in. I think, or if not, then one more little low. One more little low, but yeah, I think, yeah, you could see here we got 1, 2, right? And then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So if this comes up and makes one more low, I mean, maybe, but I really like this wave right here with the wick on the end. I mean, that to me looks like it could be almost capitulation. So I think the low is in. If not, maybe one more wave down, but I don't think we have much further to go, right? If we start rocking hard to the down and if we start getting towards like 67 cents, right? Then if that's not the low, then man, it's going to be rough, because it really looks good when you have waves of equal length. So you take a line right there and you take that same line and it's basically the same. Basically the same. So we should be set. Now if I take a line like this to the top, right, and then I take that, it's the same length, and I come over here, look at that, it's the same length. So this wave's the same, this wave's the same, and this wave's the same, and probably this wave is the same as well. So that is a good indicator that the wave is pretty much done, and we should be reversing. But as far as the small time frames go, there's not really nothing there. I mean, you could say maybe it's a diag 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't look right to me at all. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. There's really nothing here, unless this is a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is an A, B, C. So that's a 1, that's a 2, or even an A, B, and then we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That could be an A, B, C. Right? If we get 4 and 5, then that could be a diag, and then we kind of flag out and then continue higher. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. The best thing we can do is to just build structure here. build support, and then launch off of that. Because if you start flagging out, like we're flagging out now, right? So why I don't think it's maybe likely to break the low. I think we could revisit the low though. So you see how this is flagging out like that? So you're coming down, you're flagging out, you're probably going to break down and come back to the low. If we can hold the low, right, maybe we could get 3 up and then 3 down and then get maybe 5 up, right? So it's all going to be about how we hold the low, right? That's one way to look at it. If this kind of just keeps creeping up like this and starts creeping, hey, that's great. That's even better. That shows a lot of strength. So let's see if we get some strength coming out. The Fed is not going to lower the rates. So, but they will stop quantitative tightening, I think, by the end of May or June or something. So that should be some type of relief. But yeah, XRP is definitely way more bullish looking than Theta. But that doesn't mean Theta can't give us bigger percentages, right? Because look how far Theta is down. If we're going to make our way back up, let's say back, we're chilling right here. We get back up to, the top of the range. You're looking at almost, at least 200%, right? Now, if you go to XRP and you go up 200%, that's probably all it's going to do. 200%, that probably brings you about $7. Maybe we can get up to 300%. Between 2 and 300% is really all XRP has left. That's it. 2 to 3x. So that's why I don't, even though it's really bullish, the percentages aren't really that great. Versus when I look at something like SHIB or Theta, right? Now you're talking big moves to the upside, right? Just to give you an example here, if I take a 1618, because that's the standard target area, and I say we're right here, right? We're right here, and then we go up, and we hit that 1618 up here. That's about a 10x move. So I think it looks pretty great, a 10x move. So we have look at that. We have a 3-wave pullback. So we have 3 waves up, and now we have 3 waves down. So if we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it could be very fast and vicious. Because like I always say, the C waves are always the most aggressive, the most violent waves. They're fast and aggressive. So if this is a A and this is a B, well, if we get a C, it should be fast and furious, right? So SHIB is probably my favorite meme coin because of the structure. It has the best structure out of all the meme coins, right? The reason why is because of the base. It has a really nice structure here. It's flat. That's why I like it. Some meme coins, they start off like this and then they just go like this. Why would I want that, right? This has a lot of structure. I got actually I'd start here. I got 1, 2, 3, right? All of this, 4, and then 5. And then if we can consolidate, right, you would have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. Now we're going sideways, blast off. So it has the correct base. It has the correct structure. You can even say maybe it's got a nice downward resistance line or something. Or if it's a triangle, I don't think so, but if it is, let's see, A, and then you have B, and then you have C, and then you go D, and then you go E, and then go up. I don't know, that might be a little bit too much, but we'll see. But yeah, the best thing we can do is just build a little bit of a base down in here and start building off of that, and then flag out and then come up. That's what I think. That's what I think we're gonna do. But if the stock market keeps coming down and the recession fears grow because of their fake narrative, and we have a lot of turbulence, then we might have to go down a little bit more, or we might have to kind of do one of these things where we're kind of flagging out to the downside, and then we push up, and then we kind of flag out again, and then we push up, right, and then we flag out again, and then we finally get going, and it's just a lot of grinding and working through it all, right? A lot of oscillation because of the fear and the greed, mostly the fear. All right, I think that was it. ADA. See, the only thing I don't like about ADA is this three-wave move. If that's 3 down and that's 3 up, then this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. And it could be a big, fat move to the downside. So I'm really cautious here when it comes to ADA. I just don't really like that move. But I really like it from the fractal perspective, because the fractal suggests that, you know, we should have a move like this, then come back down, go sideways, come up, and then do something like that, right? Because if we compare this to XRP, you know, you kind of see right here, right? We looked at that, like a three-way move down, got three-way move down, right? And then you got this move back up, and then you got this really unique three-way move down like there, and then you kind of have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kind of have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, come back down, chill out a little bit, then have a 1, 2, then go, right? Something like that. So yeah, it could work out that way. So but right now it's not really exciting. So Litecoin, again, I think this is a big flat A, B, and C. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and C. I think we're there. I mean, this is it, you know? If we got one more low, then hey, one more low, but I doesn't really have to, because before I was saying 1, 2, 3, if this is 4 and 5, but look how big it's getting in comparison to the 2. So the bigger this gets, the better it is, the less likely we will, right? But it still has that little flag look that it could break down one more, but we'll see. Because, I mean, you could say 1, 2, right? And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this is 4, and that is the same size as this. And then you get 5. That is kind of what I'm thinking, if we have one more low. So I think we're really close to finding a footing in here. So if we have to move down one more time, then hey, whatever. Or if we have to kind of go sideways to get back going, then, you know, it is what it is. XLM, I like the way XLM looks. It's got a really unique, and it's deviated a lot from XRP. How can I look at? I used to be able to look at. I want to see XLM versus XRP. So if you look at XLM versus XRP, you can see XLM's been pretty hammered, right? We had a big dump to the downside. So, you know, XLM could outpace XRP in the short term. It's got an interesting fall. It's got a really nice falling wedge, and it's got a really nice. I love the three-way pullback, right? And I like the way it's. I think this is the prettiest looking flag out of, you know, the pairs that we always look at, which is X. That are all in the same camp, which is ADA, H bar, Algo, and XLM. Those are the four. And XRP, right? Those are the five. So XRP, ADA, XLM, Algo, and HBAR. Those are the guys that are pretty much in the same category, right? As far as their charts and their structures go. So, yeah, this thing's got a nice sort of falling wedge to it here. So let's see how this plays out. I imagine, because it's 3, I imagine that either it's going to happen in a couple different ways. Number 1, you're going to have 3 back up, and then you're going to get 3 back down, or 5 back down. It could be a big ABC, a more complex ABC, then go. Or the variation to that is you have 3 down, you have 3 up, and then you go 3 back down, but you have reaccumulation. So rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, then go. Build that base, build that structure. And this is just one piece of it, right? Or it could be very simple. It could be very simple in that we have a 1, 2, 3, and then we have a 4 ABC pullback, and then we go up and get 5. Very, very simple. And that's what I hope. That's what I would much rather see. Because anytime you get 5 up and you get 3 back, a 3-way pullback, does that 3 continue the price, or does that 3 branch into another 3 and then another 3, right? And then go. So you think, hey, I got a 3-way pullback, I'm going to go long and we're going to go to the moon. But then it goes up and then it comes down and then it breaks below your entry. And now you're underwater, and then you freak out, and then you sell, and then it blasts off, right? So you 3, 3, 3. So, yeah, I really like XLM a lot. I just like looking at this chart. And you got a 5-day 9. Look at that. I didn't even know that. You got a 5-day 9. So let's take a closer look at XLM. I'm gonna have to do an XLM only video soon, because I think I just like the way it looks. It's got that falling wedge look, and I love falling wedges because they react so nicely when they break out. Yeah, versus something like, let's see here. Let's put on I don't know, maybe Algo or HBAR. Let's see. Oh, come on. What's going on here? Okay, so you can see Algo is definitely weaker, right? It's got more. See how see the degree of the line, right? This is just like falling off a cliff. This one has more. This one looks like it's way weaker, right? It started off like a nice 3, but then this right here was just really aggressive to the downside, right? And we can look at that by our bull market support band. You can see the distance between the bull market support band versus the distance here. It's not that bad. So XLM definitely looks a lot stronger than Algo. But if we have risk on, full on blast off liquidity just flowing through, then and then you go all the way up to the top versus coming all the way up to the top, you might make more money over here, but you have more risk, right? It's going to be harder because it's further away, but you could have more percentages. But speaking of Algo, I mean, the most bullish way we can look at this is a 1-2-1-2, right? If that's not a 1-2-1-2, then this is an ABC. And basically you have an A, and then all of that's a B, and then now we're going to go down and die for a C, right? So my big question is, are we going to have a complete economic recession, depression, economic, stock market collapse, black swan crisis like never before seen, where the whole system gets turned upside down and everybody loses everything. All the 401ks are gone, all the stock market is, it's just obliteration. And that is an event that is big enough to cause a change in direction, because anytime you're going to change something that people are used to, there has to be a reason why you need to change it. So what if the event is so big that there's no question in anybody's mind that the system needs to be changed? That's what I fear, right? That's why I think you guys should have food and water. Go to I'm not affiliated with anybody. I don't have no affiliations with anybody. But I personally go to mypatriotsupply.com and you can order food there, and it has a shelf life of 20 years or so, which is crazy, right? That way, remember when C-19 hit, nobody could buy toilet paper, everybody was buying it. Well, what if that happened again, but instead of COVID, it was a banking crisis, and instead of toilet paper, it's food. So now you're really screwed, right? Because you don't really need toilet paper to survive, but you do need food. So if some type of crisis happened like that, you're gonna, you say, oh, I have food. Yeah, but try going to the grocery store when everybody else is trying to go there too. So it just takes the stress out of it if you ever come into that situation. And it's basically like insurance. You have car insurance. You don't planning on getting in a car accident, but you still have insurance. You have life insurance. You have homeowners insurance, renters insurance, health insurance, right? Why not have the best insurance of them all, which is food insurance, right? Nobody has food insurance, and it's kind of scary. So you can get a 3-month supply, a 6-month supply. Go to mypatriotsupply.com. And again, I'm not affiliated at all. I'm not getting paid anything. I just recommend that if you're looking for that, or go to Costco and buy a bunch of cans. Because if we're going through a transition, there's going to be some chaos. There's going to be, that's why gold is going up, right? Because we're in a war. This is not World War III. This is the currency wars, right? This is the BRICS nation, right? This is Trump and the U.S. dollar. People think BRICS is going to replace the dollar. Actually, Trump wants the dollar to die, because the dollar is the head of the snake. It's the head of the fiat currency system, right? We don't want that system anymore. We want a decentralized, gold-backed, crypto-backed system. Imagine taking your wallet out, pulling out a $20 bill, and instead of it saying Federal Reserve debt note, it says United States Treasury dollar, or Treasury bill, or United States $20 bill backed by gold, or Bitcoin, or not Bitcoin. I don't think it's not going to be Bitcoin. So I have mixed opinions when it comes to Bitcoin and its creations and things like that. But yeah. So is there anything else? Oh yeah, Bitcoin. Let's look at Bitcoin. Because it really depends on Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin did its job. Bitcoin did everything it needed to do, right? It found a bottom. It got through the retrace levels. It came up here. It broke out. This is where XRP is, by the way. See how Bitcoin is flagging out right at the top? Here's the top, and we're flagging out. That's where XRP is. So we should get one more wave up. We should get another wave. So Bitcoin did its job, but the altcoins didn't do their job. They were too weak. So if we have to come down and backtest this area, maybe we have to. But the way I look at Bitcoin is that you have a 3-wave pullback. So we need to hold the floor here. We need to hold the base, and we need to start making our way into the retrace levels. And that's what I believe is happening, because I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. I see a nice doji candle at the end of here. So, but anyway, You have really nice divergence in here. We need to get back above the bull market support band. So we need to create a little bit of a base, get back above the bull market support band. So anyways, I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.